All right, y'all. I am live for my birthday. Yes. Happy birthday to me. Should I sing to myself like Marilyn Monroe sang to Kennedy? I'm getting over like a little bit of something. So I already have kind of that, that deeper voice. And I used to do those bedroom eyes with a slightly barbiturate laden look, right? I shouldn't make fun of Marilyn Monroe and barbiturates in the same sentence, should I? No. But supposedly, Jackie Kennedy stayed home that night. She was supposed to go with her husband to this big birthday party event for him, right? And then she found out Marilyn Monroe was going to be singing happy birthday to him. And she was like, no thanks. I'll bow out of that shit. It's funny because, like, I think Kennedy was a great president in so many ways. And I do think that, by and large, private lives should be kept separate. Like, I thought the Bill Clinton thing was overblown overblown. Uh-oh. No pun intended. Overblown BS. But, man, if you read about Kennedy and what he got up to, he definitely would have been Me Too'd a long time ago. Let's just say that. If Kennedy were in politics today, JFK, if he were in politics today, he would have been like Me Too'd out of there a long, long time ago. Anyway, though, happy birthday to me. Happy birthday to me. That kind of sounds like Elvis, actually. So, yeah, happy birthday to me, everybody. I am the big 4-4. That's right, 44. I'm not quite 45 yet. 45 is when it gets scary because then you know what's next, right? It's true that 40 ain't what it used to be. 50 ain't what it used to be. It used to be that a 40-something-year-old woman looked like that housewife from the Archie Bunker show. What was it called? All in the Family. I know it's even before my time, but my dad was a huge fan of that Carol O'Connor show, All in the Family. And y'all remember his wife? She was in her 40s. And like by today's standards, she looked fucking ancient. And so it is true we've come a long way in the way that age is regarded. And so I'm just going to keep riding that wave. And then hopefully by the time I get to be 80, people would be like, oh, 80 is the new 20. So hello, everybody. Thanks for joining me. And if you didn't get a chance to catch it earlier, check out the live stream that I did on Marilyn Manson's wife's photography. Put it out earlier today, and it's not going to hit the algorithm in the same way that other stuff does because it's not a big celebrity name, right? But check it out. It's really cool. I had panelists on, did a presentation, film clips, all kinds of stuff. So it's on the Manson playlist on my YouTube, and it's on my live stream list and Twitter and Instagram and everything. Aaron Imholt. We're going to get to Manson, and we're going to spend most of our time on the Manson stuff. I also want to talk movies, and I want to talk childless cat ladies, and I want to talk, not having kids and all of that, because I'm just so tired of seeing people on Twitter arguing about this child thing, motherhood thing. Oh my God. But anyway, first, Aaron Imholt, his mugshot, his mugshot comes out tomorrow, right? I have not been following this closely. So is he going to get arrested, or does he just go and turn himself in? Someone is following the Nick Rekieta thing. And if you don't know what's going on, so Nick Rekieta, big YouTuber, lawyer, got popped with an ounce of cocaine, a nice party's worth of cocaine. And he and his wife and his girlfriend, yes, you heard that right. He and his wife and his girlfriend, who were living together, they got arrested. And it turns out that one of the informants, as I understand it, right? Tell me if I'm wrong. One of the informants was Rekieta's girlfriend, April Imholt, her soon-to-be ex-husband, Aaron Imholt, was kind of pissed that things fell apart in their relationship, even though he was originally in favor of this foursome with the Rekietas. But when he found out that April preferred Rekieta over him, things kind of went sour, and then April left, right? Am I getting this right? And then Aaron he's a YouTuber. He has spent, I guess, the last like 2 or 3 months since Rekieta got arrested, just basically centering his entire talk show around daily updates on the Rekieta stuff, gleeful updates, I might add. He's thrilled, he's happy. He says he's not, but Aaron is loving every minute of his 15 minutes of fame. So I just want to know, is he getting arrested or what's going to happen? Because this is the latest. Apparently, so, like I said, there was this foursome for a while with Rekieta's wife, and this Aaron Imholt talk show guy and his wife at the time. And so apparently he had nude photos of Nick Rekieta's wife that he, I guess, had acquired through this relationship they were having, right? And he sent them once all this shit went down and Rekieta got arrested. Aaron Imholt, sent nudes apparently to other people, like other YouTube hosts, right? Like kind of like laughing, like, ha, look at this naked photo or whatever of Rekieta's wife. Only problem is, and you know what the problem is, right? It's against like some laws or something to be sharing naked pictures of people when you're not authorized to do so. And I'm not sure if it's actually fallen under the heading of revenge porn. I've not been paying close attention, but apparently he has run afoul, Aaron Imholt, of some laws, and he's either been arrested or he's going to be arrested or whatever. So, one second. I'm back 1 minute. Sorry. Sorry. It was the police. Aaron Imholt sent them to my door. So, y'all, here's the thing with Rekieta, this whole Rekieta stuff. I don't know what the deal is with the truth, and there's what Nick says, there's what the government's trying to prove, there's what Aaron says, et cetera, et cetera. And I don't know, and I don't have time to make heads or tails of it. But I will say this: Rekieta has his kids back now, and he is under hardcore drug surveillance. In fact, he's got apparently some kind of a patch that is monitored regularly and detects if he has drugs in his system. And they're doing like hair follicle tests and all kinds of stuff. So Rekieta is clean, and he's going to have to be clean for a while. So whatever the situation was, I don't know, but his life seems like it's on a better track, albeit with the heavy hand of the government, which, I don't love. But anyway, that's the situation. But this Aaron Imholt guy, I just think that he is repulsive on so many levels. And the glee, the unabashed glee that he has shown through this entire thing, when he was the one originally, and he admits this, who was all in favor of getting into this foursome with the Rekietas. He was all for it until it went south. And then, suddenly he's like the hero or whatever, right? Or the long suffering, ex-husband or what have you, right? So I'm glad that he is getting some kind of comeuppance. It couldn't have happened to a better douchebag. And, it's like Nietzsche said, he who fights monsters should take care lest he himself become a monster. And that is my thought for the day. Super chats, yes. And by the way, my mods, I did not tell them to be here because they've done such a good job, and I want them to take the time off. And they did the earlier chat with the Marilyn Manson art stuff. So anyway, Andrew Jacobs says, happy birthday, Kristen. I've really been enjoying your content since I discovered you on Pop Culture Crisis last year. Glad you're back at it again. I love that show. That's one of the few YouTube shows that I will watch occasionally because I don't watch many of them. But I love those two, and their channel is blowing up. They're doing really, really well. Tony Marie Anderson says, happy birthday to you, CK. Have a blast. Thank you so much. I appreciate y'all. My PayPal link, as always, is below in the description, and super chats are great as well. Dan Campbell, whoa, glamorous. I'm in awe. Not you, Kurtz. I'm referencing the painting on the left. I like this trick photography hovering painting on this side. People comment on it sometimes. My sister painted that, and the only reason that it looks like trick photography is because it's actually mounted off the wall a bit. So anyway. And yeah, just let me know if I am missing some super chats, because y'all know I'm not good at that. And I feel bad, obviously, when people give money so that they can be seen and heard, and then I don't do it. So happy to have you remind me of these things. All right, y'all. So also, I want to give you an update. My never-ending saga of trying to get the technology right. So do you want to hear the latest issue? So I got, this mic, and it worked really well when I went to the Manson concert. And then apparently I tried on StreamYard. I did a couple of streams and the sound was really, really tinny. And I'm like, what's going on there? And then I read, oh, this is not StreamYard, and many other streaming platforms don't support this. I'm like, come on, dude. But anyway, so back to the old headset, but look at what I just got. Oh, shit. Now, someone is going to come over soon and explain to me, show me finally how to hook up shit. But that's pretty, don't you think? I think this phallic object will finally be the key to getting good sound. So I am still working on it. But I think I said in my last chat that my boyfriend and I, we made friends with a guy who's really good at this kind of tech stuff. And he came over the other day and he was like, oh, okay, yeah, we need to hook this up and do this and this. So he's going to come back and do it, hopefully, apparently. So we may finally be on track. I am going to another Manson concert. Speaking of, I'm going to another Manson concert in Austin, and it's going to be the 18th, right? 18th or 19th. So I'm doing the Lindemann concert on, I think, the 17th or 18th of September, and then the Manson in Austin is the next night. And so I'm so excited about that. I'm going to be doing coverage of both and more interviews and stuff like that. Now, some of you know that there are protests planned this coming Friday in Anaheim, protest of Manson's concert. And unfortunately, it's just too far across the country, and I was not planning to go there to Anaheim, and so I won't be going. But I encourage any of you who go to that concert, get there early, check it out, see if there really are protests. I would love to get some footage from that, especially if one of these crazy accusers ends up showing up. I would be surprised. I'm going to be surprised to see who actually shows up to this thing. My guess is that it's actually going to be pathetic and poorly attended, but you never know. You never know. They might get like 50, 100 women. They have to bust them in to come in, but we'll see. We'll see how that goes. Oh yes, DBG Luxie. I'll be there at the 18th show. Okay, awesome. Well, I'm gonna try to be outside pretty early, so try to find me. Thank you for all the birthday wishes too. I'm seeing all of them as I'm scrolling through. Yeah, they can't get a grip. Well, they're going to keep protesting, I guess, and it depends on if they get traction this weekend or not, I guess, as to whether we see more protest. But y'all, I'm not sure if you're aware of this. This is going to be a big week with the Manson stuff. So that documentary that I've been talking about, the Channel 4 documentary that I've been talking about now for God, almost a year now, months and months and months. It finally is coming out, Marilyn Manson Unmasked, but it's going to be on Paramount's network. It's streamer. Oh, shit. It's going to be on Paramount's streamer, and it's going to open in Canada. It's going to screen there first, but I'm told that it's still going to be on the internet. So if you actually watch the Paramount network on TV and in your Canada, then you can get it. But apparently if you're in the US, you'll just have to go online on your computer or something. I don't exactly understand it. But anyway, it's going to be, point is, the Manson documentary, it's going to be widely released. And then once it's released, it'll be available. We'll all get to see it some way. And so it's a 3-part documentary, and it's going to be really interesting to see if they are in any way fair to Manson, because they're doing a retrospective of his life, his early work, his rise to stardom, Columbine, all of that, his marriage to Dita Von Teese and divorce, et cetera, et cetera. And then they're spending a lot of time on the allegations. Now, I know that they interviewed several accusers. I have heard through the grapevine that Evan Rachel Wood has new allegations that she's going to be bringing up in this thing, because every time she gets on camera, things get stranger. Her story gets stranger, if you've noticed. But anyway, she's got new allegations. And then they're going to interview some other accusers. But I do know also that they interviewed Paula, Manson's former assistant, who's been on my show a lot. And apparently they interviewed one of Manson's attorneys. So they're going to, I guess, at least pay a little lip service to Manson's perspective on things. But I would be very, very shocked if it's a fair program. Maybe it will be. Claude Simeon says, gazing into your lovely, limpid eyes, tax take two. Oh man. So thank you. They used, or they bought 30 seconds worth of material from my channel. And I was really hoping that they would buy more and they would use more. And the fact that they're only using 30 seconds doesn't give me a lot of confidence that they're going to put the other side out there a lot. But maybe, probably all they need is 30 seconds of stuff to make me look crazy. And that's what they'll use. Somebody asked me, would I prefer this documentary? Would I prefer that they ignore me, or would I prefer that they lie about me or make me look bad or say horrible things? And obviously, the answer would be that I would prefer that they would pay attention to me, even if it's negative attention. Because what will happen is, if they do, then some people will go and look me up, and then they'll hopefully see the truth or see my perspective there. But I don't know. They probably will ignore me. They'll probably just take just enough footage from my show to make me look bad in some way, and then just kind of shrug it off. But you never know. But the point is, though, when this thing comes out, whether it's opening in Canada or the US or wherever it's going to be available, it's going to get media coverage, because this will be the first opportunity in a long time for the media to really take another look at this. And it's a 3-part documentary. So, I mean, Phoenix Rising. Sorry, this thing keeps coming loose. Phoenix Rising was only two parts, right? So this is going to be a 3-part thing, and I think it's going to be pretty big, but we'll see. And so, whether he likes it or not, Manson might have very soon upon him a date with destiny in the form of some heavy media coverage. I mean, you never know, though. So we'll see. But it's going to be interesting to see what happens. And so there's that. There's the feminist protest. And guess what, y'all? The feminist protests are occurring the same day as this documentary comes out, the 6th. It's going to be the 6th. Now, tell me that's not somewhat coordinated. Seriously? Seriously? You're telling me that of all the days and of all the shows that these feminists, who are, by the way, closely aligned with and friends with a number of Manson accusers, Evan Rachel Wood, they've been pictured with Evan Rachel Wood, Esme Bianco, others. You're telling me that it's just random that the documentary would come out on the same day as they're doing these protests? No. So, I mean, the coordination, this is what's crazy about the situation, is that the coordination, even now, it's continuing. And it's blatant. I mean, how much more blatant can you be than you have the first significant, maybe, feminist protest of Marilyn Manson at the same day that this documentary is going to come out? I mean, so, I don't like to be a conspiracy theorist, but from the very beginning, this thing has been highly coordinated, this hoax against Manson, on multiple levels. You all know it. It's involved politicians, it's involved people in the media, it's involved, obviously, a network, actresses, exes, what have you, recruited by Evan Rachel Wood. And so this thing from the beginning, it's just been such a scam. So we'll see what happens. But I'll be interested to see, where this goes. But I don't know. So anyway, y'all have any thoughts? I'm just reading your comments. What is up? Benny Ford says, or did Manson know the date, the city being closest to LA? Well, the fact that, I'm not sure I exactly understand your question, but the fact that this Anaheim show, is the closest that Manson is going to get to LA, like he's not doing an LA show, this was the best opportunity for some of these accusers, feminist activists, California politicians, whoever's going to be there. This was the best opportunity for them to go to a show, right? Because this is the closest one to LA. But what's interesting to me, though, is just the coincidence of having the documentary coming out the very same day then that you're having these protests in Anaheim. I don't know. It's interesting. Mama Otter says, "Happy birthday. Have a cupcake on me. So glad I made it. Keep fighting the good fight." Oh, thank you. Oh, man. I'm going to get something to drink. My throat is kind of hurting. I won't be gone too long. You'll give me like 30 seconds. All right, I'm back. I think the weirdest trend the last few days, all of these people arguing about milk. What is going on Twitter X? I see all of these people arguing about milk and whether it's okay to drink raw milk or you need to drink pasteurized. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with the debate. I mean, what do I know? Maybe it's an important debate, but it's just interesting to see these trends where, like, all of a sudden, like the last few days, I just see all these people arguing about milk. I myself drink the filtered milk, so you get extra protein, less sugar. I'm sure that it's doing something horrible to my DNA or whatever, but what you gonna do? But yeah, the Manson stuff. So there's been a lot of stuff going on. The FBI letter, people are asking me what's going on with his suit. There was something in the news last week on TMZ about Manson filing an appeal and trying to get the judge in his lawsuit against Evan Rachel Wood and Ilma Gore to reinstate the FBI stuff, the suggestion or evidence that Evan Rachel Wood forged an FBI letter and submitted it in family court. And so the long and the short of it is that it's just really hard in California to sue someone for defamation in when it regards sexual assault allegations. That's the whole anti-slap thing. There's legislation that was passed in California to make it really difficult to do what Manson is trying to do. And then on top of that, it's difficult to prove in Manson's defamation case the relevance of that FBI document, the fake FBI letter, and I'll tell you why. Okay, some of you already know this. The FBI letter, Manson, as far as I understand, does not have proof that that the faked FBI letter itself was used to recruit women against him. That very well may have been the case, and early on, I think that that's what I thought. But no proof of that has materialized of that particular aspect, and so all that we have proof of is that Evan Rachel Wood submitted this fake FBI letter in family court with her custody dispute with Jamie Bell because, remember she kidnapped the kid from Jamie Bell and she withheld the kid and Jamie Bell complained about it vociferously to the court and she ended up losing primary custody. And one of the things that she did to try to justify why she had kidnapped the kid and was withholding the kid from his father is to say, oh, well, I'm a witness in this important Marilyn Manson FBI investigation and my safety is threatened. So I had to run away with this kid. And so she and her girlfriend at the time wrote that fake FBI letter to basically say to Jamie Bell and the family court, no, she's a witness in this important investigation and she's in danger from Marilyn Manson and all of that. So her behavior is justified. It's egregious. It's crazy. I mean, here it is, family court, and she's submitting fake government documents with forged FBI agent signatures and all that. I mean, it is horrible and egregious, but I think that the problem has been proving the exact relevance of that to what Manson is trying to prove in his suit. The other thing is that Evan Rachel Wood, and this sounds so fucking stupid, but Evan Rachel Wood denies that she wrote that FBI letter or that she knew it was fake. She denies it. I guess the stork just dropped it, on her lawn or whatever. But she claims I don't remember where she claims she got it or it appeared or whatever. But it's basically like, I don't know. I didn't know it was fake. Somebody just sent this to me, basically. It's a stupid argument. But it's this stuff is causing Manson some problems in court in terms of trying to get this evidence entered in, and so that's what's being debated right now in the civil suit that he's filed, and he's trying to get the judge to, because the judge basically threw the letter out as irrelevant or what have you, and so he's trying to get her to put it back in. But it's a steep hill to climb in California. It just is, especially with this judge. I don't like this judge. I haven't done a lot of research into her, but in one of her judgments in the Manson, in this case, in this situation, one of her judgments, she complained in her brief. She complained about being overloaded by this case and having to read so many documents, and that it was basically more or less it was exhausting her. I think she said, "I'm exhausted." It was exhausting her. And so like that to me is extremely unprofessional. She's complaining basically that she's having to do her job and is having to sort through, this case. And so to me, that was a giveaway if there's something wrong. She doesn't take this seriously. She thinks it's frivolous. She's annoyed that she's having to adjudicate this. It's not a good sign. It's not a good sign. I mean, a California judge, I don't have a lot of faith. So that's the situation. And um, so that's what's been in the news. Nothing has really happened except that Manson has filed this appeal trying to get this stuff back in. But whatever, I just think we just need to publicize it as much as possible, that this woman is so manipulative and conniving and awful that she faked an official FBI document and she submitted it in family court. Forget Manson. Okay, let's just take him out of it. What about she's having this battle with her ex, father of her child, and she's withholding the child, and to win her case in court, she's entering in false evidence, fake FBI letters. I mean, to me, that's in some ways that's even worse. So I don't know. Somebody needs to do something about that. But we'll see what happens. We will see. And what else? What else? So y'all have any questions? Anything you want me to answer? Thank you. Let's see. Did I already read this, Mama Otter? Oh, yes, I did. But thank you again. Bird flu and cow milk. Yeah. I'm completely unknowledgeable about the state of unpasteurized milk. So it could be it's bad for you, scary, keep away. I don't know. I just see people arguing about it a lot. Alexis and Bill Clerico says if Manson was able to file anywhere but California, I think it would have been a lot different. Yeah, well, look, there's a reason why Johnny Depp's lawyers filed in Virginia. It was a head scratcher to a lot of people, but they found a reason or a loophole or a justification. There's a reason, because that was a much, much friendlier situation legally to what Depp was trying to do and what Manson's trying to do. So yeah, the jurisdiction is unfortunate. It is. Okay. Ryan says my birthday is tomorrow, number 50. There's all these milestones. It's interesting, right? Like when you're 30, you're like, oh, I don't want to get to 35 or 40. And then you get to be 40, you're like, I don't want to get to 45 or 50. And then you just keep hitting these milestones. It's kind of like, well, there we go. You kind of have to accept it on some level, right? But it definitely isn't what it used to be. That's for sure. Speaking of being a middle-aged woman, so I'll come back to Manson in a little while, but speaking of being a middle-aged woman, I am just so tired, y'all, of seeing the discourse surrounding children and motherhood and, childless cat ladies. And I'm not even just talking about one side here. I mean, I just see like the most sort of obnoxious discourse going on between the trad people and the child free people, and then I feel like there's a lot of like reasonable people in the middle who just kind of want people to live and let live, right? But that gets drowned out a lot on Twitter, and then Elon Musk is constantly entering the fray now, constantly, to encourage people to have children. And I'll tell you a few things as someone who has always known for whatever reason that she didn't want to have children, was not going to have children, feels very secure in that choice. It's one of the few things in my life that I don't question. I'll tell you the things that annoy me the most that I see people saying. Yes, I understand that if everyone stopped having children, then the human race would go extinct. Like Tim Pool said that to me when I went on his show. And like, yes, I get that. And I'm not saying that people should not have children. I think that most people left to their own devices will still have children. Maybe not as many as Elon Musk is wanting us all to have. But, you know, if the future of the human race depends on people having children that they don't want, or having children when that's not what they want for their life, or when maybe they wouldn't even be good parents, if the future of the human race depends on that, then I don't know, maybe we should just go extinct. I mean, I'm not even being glib or flippant there. I'm just saying, like, if that is if that is what we're told, is that someone like me who does not want to have children and needs to do it to like take one for the human race, so to speak. I just think that, wow, we're in a pickle. Then maybe we don't need to continue on. I mean, anyway, all I ever, you look at the news or whatever, you just see all the time how horrible people are. Anyway, it's like people are like, oh, people are shit. I hate people. We should have more of them. But Elon Musk is all alarmed because of some research showing that by 2030 or something, 45% of women will be unmarried and childless. And we could talk a lot about the supposed benefits of marriage, and that it seems to be a, a better situation for having children. It seems to offer some additional stability for people, et cetera, et cetera, if it's a good marriage. Um, but if 45% of women don't want to have children, then I just don't think we should be pressuring them to do it. And I saw somebody today, they posted something on Twitter. It was, I think it turned out it was a parody account, but it was a picture of a woman probably about my age. And it's a Labor Day post. And I guess she was sitting in a restaurant or a bar or something, and she's holding a glass of wine. And the caption says something like, I didn't have to get childcare, something like that. 45 years old, it's Labor Day. I didn't have to worry about childcare, heyo, or something, right? And it's clearly like a stupid, obnoxious post, right? And it turns out, in fact, it was a parody. But people online were saying things, and I see this all the time when someone says that they're child free or they don't want to have children or what have you, particularly women. I see all these people online saying, you can see the pain behind her eyes. You can see the regret. And then you have people posting saying, oh, the loss, the emptiness, it's only going to get worse as she gets older. And then one day she will realize that she made the wrong choice and it'll be too late. And it's basically like the message that keeps getting sent is this idea that it's just impossible, that maybe people can be, I don't know, content. I hate to use the word happy because is anyone happy? But people can be content or at peace or have a successful or good life without children. And I almost kind of wonder, like, who are these people? Are these people trying to talk themselves into something? Like, is this in fact that some people who've had kids actually secretly regret it? I know they love their children. You love your children, right? Most people love their children, but like, I, it's almost like methinks the lady doth protest too much with some of these people who are so hardcore on Twitter and in presenting this idea that you can't have a decent life or a good life or a happy or content life without children. And I just think, what are they trying to deny? What are they trying to hold back? What are they not wanting to see about themselves? Research, y'all know research, statistics, they're very flawed, and you can make research sound often, or statistics sound as you want them to, or say whatever you want them to say in a lot of ways. But there have been a number of studies that have been done on the happiness of people who have children and people who don't have children. And actually, what the research shows is that there are a greater percentage of people who regret having children and who find a dissatisfaction in life because of that choice. There are a greater number of people or percentage of those people than there are people who don't have children who regret it. Most people, at least according to the research that's been done, most people who choose not to have children, now choosing is one thing, right? It's one thing if you want a child and you're infertile or can't find a good situation or whatever. People who choose not to have children, seems like mostly They turn out to be satisfied with that choice. And I just think that there's a great deal of pompousness involved in someone assuming that they know what is best for someone else or what someone else really thinks or really feels. Now, I'll tell you, I do have people at times pose this question to me, and it's a good question. I'll tell you what it is. Um, they'll say, okay, what about though when you get to be old and infirm and you don't have any kids? Basically, A, aren't you going to be depending on someone else's kids to take care of you? Right? If I go to a nursing home or what have you, right? You're depending on someone else's kids to take care of you. And B, aren't you looking at a horrible end of life scenario where you're not going to have anyone looking out for you and you're going to be like alone and you're going to die alone and blah, blah, blah. Well, this is probably a little too heavy for a birthday live stream, so I won't stick with it very long. But I just have to say, y'all, I've known a number of people who have died. I've been in the presence of people, dying, hospice, hospital, home. I've seen that process. I've seen what it's like. There's no like happy death ending for almost anyone. I mean, if you have a heart attack or you OD on drugs, I'd say that's about the best death that someone can have because you're just out. But it's kind of a horror show at the end, no matter what's going on. And, like I look at my grandmother, for instance, or some other people I've known who had a ton of family around them. And yet it's still in the end, it was just still shitty. And, it kind of gets to a point too where like the family, they get like worn out. They get tired. They don't want to admit it, but they get resentful. They're ready for all this to be over with. And I don't mean like they're just like, I want this person to die, but to an extent, y'all, like once the writing is on the wall and once someone is really far along on the terminal road, people start thinking of them as a kind of a ghost anyway, and it's painful. These extended end of life scenarios that we have now in modern society. And I guess my point to you is I've seen a number of people die, and at the end, everybody is alone. And I understand that maybe there are people who have better scenarios or get better end of life care, or it's not as bad if they have family with them or people looking out for them. And I concede that. It is true that the price that I'm going to pay for the choice that I'm making, it's gonna hit hardest at the end. And I mean, I have that fully in my mind. And this is super dark to talk about on your birthday, but there's a part of me that I found out that I had a really horrible terminal illness, and if it got to the point way down the road where I was really suffering, couldn't take care of myself, I don't know. I'm not sure that an honorable suicide is such a bad thing. And people just like, oh my God, she said that. But I mean, I don't understand why so many people think that the suffering that comes at the end of life is worth anything. We just, oh, euthanasia, it's so bad. We want to prolong for our loved ones as long a period of suffering as possible. So nobody better check out early. I want you to feel it all. I mean, come on, how grotesque is that? So that's a long rambling answer to say that yeah, I understand that there is a cost that's going to be at the end, and I understand that if I'm gonna regret this thing that I'm doing at any point, it's gonna be the end. And maybe I get to the end and I look back and I'm like, damn, I should have had a kid so that they would take care of me. But y'all, isn't that kind of a fucked up way to think about having children too? I'm gonna have a kid so that it'll do shit for me when I'm old? I don't know. I mean, that seems pretty messed up. And you can say, well, that's just practical thinking. Okay, but I mean, that's certainly not the romantic way of viewing having children that a lot of people like to present online. So let me look at this super chat. Says Narciso Mendoza, happy birthday. Thank you again for standing up for Marilyn Manson or anyone who may have been wrongly accused. I know that cannot be easy at all. And I'm sure you catch a lot of heat and worked really hard. Well, it's gotten a lot easier, I have to say, in some ways, because more people now are tuned into it. The early days, it was like, you know, what are you doing? He's horrible. He's a rapist. But anyway, I'm not going to say much more about the child thing. The child rearing thing. I want to get back to talking about some Manson stuff. But I will say this: um, I know a lot of moms now. I have a lot of friends who are moms, some of them new, some of them have been doing it now for several years. And I don't think that any of them regret having children, but their lives are super, super, super complicated and stressful. And they don't have a romanticized view of what they're doing. Right. And so I just wonder, if a lot of mothers themselves don't even have a romanticized view of what they're doing, why do so many people online, why do so many propagandists have a need to romanticize it? Um, I just don't know. I don't know. But anyway, so I'm going to go for a minute and take a bong hit. I don't want to do it. It's too much to do it online. I feel bad. I feel bad. Offend some of you. Don't want my mom to see it. But it is my birthday. I'm going to take a bong hit. I will be back. 5 minutes, 5 minute bong break, and I'll be back. Oh my god, man, I'm so stoned. I'm so stoned. That's the only thing that's kind of awkward about people knowing that you smoke weed. I don't know why I'm whispering, actually. People knowing that you smoke weed is that there's this kind of like question sort of hanging over things of like, are you really stoned right now? That for some reason doesn't enter in if people want to have a drink on the air, right? Like if I were to pull out a beer instead of my filtered milk, or if I were to pull out like shots and just start doing shots, like nobody would think that was weird. But then if you say I smoked weed, they're like, are you stoned right now? Can you follow this conversation? So I don't know. It's interesting how the view of weed has changed over the years. So like when I was in high school, adolescence, what have you, it was like, and I didn't do drugs until I didn't smoke my first joint until college. But when I started smoking weed in college, and my mom found out, then it was like, you're doing drugs, or you're smoking drugs. And now, like even someone like my mom, who's totally not only anti weed, but drinking everything. To her credit, she's consistent. Like she thinks it's all bad. But even she, as resistant as she is to the mainstreaming of pot, she has had to concede that something is changing in our culture. It must not be that bad if now you can like buy it on every corner legally. And I mean, even in states where, and probably a lot of you know this, even in states where marijuana is not legal, or it's not legal for recreational use or distribution, like now they have the altered weed. It's like not THC but THCA or P, or I don't know what the fuck's going on. But now you just see this everywhere. Every state has these places where it's just like going in and buying vapes or cigarettes or whatever, right? Is you buy, or the Delta 8, right? You buy these alternative products that have something a little bit changed in their chemistry so that they can get through this loophole, get around the prohibition against marijuana. So it is kind of strange. Um, I think the thing too, like with in terms of stigma, is that for people who have never smoked before, or maybe have only smoked once or twice or what have you, when you first start smoking weed, before you have a tolerance for it, it's like anything else. It's like when you first start drinking, before you have a tolerance for it. But when you first start smoking, before you have any kind of tolerance for it, it does hit super hard. It's like you're tripping. It's closer to like a shroom experience in some ways. Psychologically than it is, for someone who's been doing it for a long time. And so I think too, like people who don't have much experience with it, they just remember, oh, this one time I tried it, or oh yeah, I did that a few times back in the day, and like I couldn't even move, and I was like paranoid and freaking out and stuff. And they're like, how can you even function? It's like, well, it's not like that after you've been doing it for a while, right? It's just basically a kind of a slight mood alteration. But I don't want this to be a promo for weed. I've talked about this before. I recognize it has its downsides, et cetera, et cetera. So whatever. I'm not telling anybody what they should be doing by any means. But Dick Lawrence says, just coming down from an epic shroom trip. Are you serious? Actually, see, that's the stuff I can't handle. I did that when in my younger years. I did that. But it's too hard on my stomach. I feel so sick with those things. It's just not worth it. And the older I get to, the more I just don't want a negative trip either. It's like you don't really know with that stuff, whether we're talking like shrooms or acid or whatever. You don't really know what kind of a trip you're sailing out on. Oh man, yeah, I agree with you, Cloudstar. There's like a pendulum. Cloudstar says I use, but I think people need to be educated on the potential side effects. There's a pendulum with these things, and so we find out it's not the devil. It's not. It's better for you than drinking, but then people can go too far and be like, oh, it's just wonderful or whatever. I don't know. There's a lot of conflicting. There's like research on things, but what have you. But I wanted to say something about the Manson stuff, actually, y'all. I don't want to put this. I see a number of statements over the past several months from people, well intentioned people. I'm talking public statements, well intentioned people who want to be supportive. And I don't even want to say anyone in particular because that's not what this is about. But I see or I hear or I read people saying things to the effect of, um, yeah, there are these allegations out there, but he's working on himself. He's made a lot of progress, and we want to reward that, and we want to encourage that, and so forth, and give him another chance or what have you. Right? I'm paraphrasing, and again, I'm not talking about any one specific person. It's just something that I heard a lot. And today, I was reading an article about Manson's quote unquote comeback, and it was one of the authors. It wasn't a musician, but it was one of the authors was basically saying it's nice to see him come back, and yes, those allegations were out there, but he's grown a lot, et cetera, et cetera. Maybe that is a good strategy. I don't know. Y'all tell me what you think. Maybe that is a good strategy given the fact that there are so many people who don't actually know what the allegations are. And so maybe most people don't realize how serious the allegations, a lot of the allegations are, and so they think, "Oh, it's just some kind of like light harassment or, Manson just getting drunk and being a little too out of control or whatever." And so he's working on himself, he's moving on, we forgive him. Maybe that narrative works for most people. My issue, and tell me what you think of this, is that the stuff that Manson's been accused of is pretty much as bad as it gets. I mean, I'd be hard pressed unless we're talking about Jeffrey Dahmer or just some horrible, just insane person or whatever. It would be hard for me to come up with someone who's been accused of worse things. And so when you look at what Evan Rachel Wood has actually accused him of, and some of the women and their allegations, prior allegations and lawsuits, it's like torture, rape, tied me up, electrocuted me, he cut me, and then he electrocuted me where he cut me, and he beat me up, and he was raping my lifeless, unconscious corpse, and he locked me up in this room and wouldn't let me out, and he force fed drugs down my throat. If he really did those things, oh, sorry, just a detour for a second. JJ says, "Did you like Long Legs? Ever think about adding a horror channel?" I haven't seen it. I think it's cool that Anthony Perkins, the Psycho actor, that his son directed it. So I need to see it. I started a horror channel. I'm going to get back to the Manson thing. Don't worry. I started a horror channel and I posted some stuff to it, but it's just really hard to maintain multiple channels. And it wasn't getting the views that the celebrity stuff gets. And so I kind of had to make a decision at that point of just kind of continue to emphasize the celebrity stuff. But I'd like to get back to it, and if it's good, I need to see it. I've talked about this a bit, um, but I saw. Sorry, I'm having so much drainage right now, and I did that live stream earlier, so it didn't really help. I'm also losing my voice. I saw 2 movies in the sort of the thriller horror genre that I really liked. One was Alien Romulus, and the other was Blink Twice. And I know Blink Twice, yes, it had very heavy Me Too feminist themes, but the way it was done, I thought it wasn't annoying. I thought I thought it was a cool, interesting premise. I thought it was very well executed. I thought it had a lot of stylistic flair. The narrative kept me involved. It did feel like, as people have said, a kind of a feminist Get Out. And look, here's the deal, y'all. I have never and would never deny that there are lots of bad people running around doing bad shit. And there are lots of bad guys running around doing bad shit. And there's lots of rich bad guys running around doing bad shit and whatever. I mean, like someone like Jeffrey Epstein is proof of that. And so, yes, there are like extremely narcissistic, malevolent, sadistic people out there. And when given enough money and power, then they can get into some pretty weird, twisted shit. So I didn't think, and I don't want to give it away, but I didn't think that the storyline was something that was unthinkable or that outlandish. And I didn't think that the movie very often got heavy handed in terms of a more general message toward men or about feminism. There was one time in the film where someone made a comment about believe all women, and so that was sort of a very obvious nod to the social movement, but there was very little of that. It was just not, it was, to me, it wasn't heavy handed, it was interesting, and I can put up with a lot of political BS if it's a good narrative and an interesting film. I just can. So that's what I felt. I liked it a lot. And then Alien Romulus, I thought it was really good, and I thought that ending, man, Talk about, I don't want to give anything away, but childbirth anxiety. I mean, I know the whole Alien franchise is childbirth anxiety, but they kind of they take it to a whole new level in that ending. I don't want to give it away, but man, it's a fucking crazy ending. Crazy. But yeah, two great thriller slash horror films that I've seen recently that I really liked. So back to the Manson stuff. When I was going to church multiple times a week growing up in the Baptist church, born again Christian, all that, there was a saying that people like to use a lot about Christ and the story of Christ and whether it was valid or not. And they would say this: look, Jesus, he supposedly said that he was the Son of God. So either he was, what was it, liar, lunatic, or Lord? And they were supposed to really like get you on that, right? And of course, my young brain at the time, that seemed like really profound. I was like, oh yeah, that's right. Their point being that the claims that Christ supposedly made about his divinity and so forth, which when you actually look into it, it gets more complicated, but whatever. But their point was that those claims, either the guy was telling the truth or he was crazy or he was a liar, and that you had to get like very clear in your mind. You couldn't be wishy-washy on it. You couldn't say, well, I don't think he was a liar or a crazy guy, but I'm just not really on board with like these beliefs about. No, you had to like be clear about these categories. And that's a little bit how I feel about the Manson stuff, in that if if there is some doubt among some of these people that are supporting Manson or that are traveling with him or what have you, and again, I'm not calling out anyone in particular, but if there's some doubt about whether this man actually was a horrible sadist, ultimate abuser and torturer of multiple women, I don't know if you can just kind of shrug that off and say, well, he's working on himself. I just I don't know. And that's just me. I don't want to be critical because I think overall it's a net gain to have people out there, whatever they want to say, showing support for him. And thank God getting up on that stage with him. And it's so helpful. So it's not about me like being critical. It's just, or even saying like they're hurting anything. I'm just saying that just as a personal sort of point that I'm thinking about, sort of a conundrum, does it really help to say, well, he's working on himself, and we want to forgive and all of that. Well, it's like, if he did all those horrible things to those women, I don't know that we do want to forgive, or I don't know that we care if he's working on himself. And so my thing has always been that, hey, I've looked into it. We've looked into it. We've thought about it. There's a lot of things that have happened that very strongly indicate that it is almost certain that this was a hoax and this guy is innocent. He didn't do these things, et cetera, et cetera. And I just wish that more people could get on board with that. And I guess what the calculation is in their minds, I would assume, is that they think, well, I don't want to wade in to the whole drama. I don't want to wade into the whole like he said, she said, and the case. And I'm not even really that educated on what's going on, probably. And I don't want to get into a fight with victims or being seen as someone who's putting victims down. I just want to avoid all that and just say, well, basically, like whatever the case is, he's worked on himself. He's a nice guy on tour. I believe in forgiveness, etc. I I see that's the calculation. I'm just not sure that it's really the best one. And so I don't know, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there are so many people out there who don't even know what the hell Manson is even accused of, and they have no idea of like, even though it's been in documentaries and articles and things like that, but they have no idea of sort of the level of things that he is falsely accused of. That maybe it's just as well just to say, oh, he's working on himself, he's sober, et cetera, et cetera. I don't know. But I just think that if more people knew what some of these women like Evan Rachel Wood have accused him of, and the extent to which it's laughable, like putting meth in her drugs. She says, I just suddenly started breaking out in sores and I didn't know why. And then I found out he'd been putting meth in my drugs. He didn't like any of my birth control, so he made me get an abortion. And then he said, bitch, you're gonna cook me dinner right now. Right now, bitch. cut me, electrocuted me, shot me in my cuts, he raped me on camera, blah blah blah, on this music video. I mean, it's just the thing is, it's just bad fan fiction. These accusations, and it's a bunch of girls led by one extremely self-admitted, fanciful fantasist, fabulist, Evan Rachel Wood. It's even addressed in that documentary she did, where her brother more or less says she has trouble separating reality from fiction. Spends the first 15 fucking minutes of that documentary making a case. Evan Rachel Wood does, Amy Berg does in that documentary. The first 15, 20 fucking minutes of that making a case for why Evan Rachel Wood is psychologically disturbed, and exploring the ways in which she grew up in a complete state of unreality that was in every way encouraged, and an unreality that was in every way encouraged by her father, and that perpetuated from her earliest years, that proceeded from her earliest years into adulthood and her acting career and beyond. The girl is a fabulist, a fantasist, and deeply disturbed. And so she got a bunch of other women. She recruited them under false pretenses. They thought that they were helping her. She was a victim or whatever. And they were pissed at Manson and they wanted some money or attention, or, cover stories on People magazine or whatever. And so they all got together and they all thought up the most like vivid fan fiction stories they could come up with. And they just basically said to themselves, well, this man has this monstrous public image, Marilyn Manson, scary makeup, and all of that. And so we just need to push the pedal to the metal and lean as hard into this monster narrative as we can. So we're just going to brainstorm the worst things we can come up with. And we're going to put them out of course, in statements that sound exactly alike because they all wrote them together, as we later found out. And so these women came up with all this crazy shit, and it just gets embellished with every retelling, as it has with Evan Rachel Wood, because every time she gives, this has been going on now for years with her, she's been giving different stories, even before she named him, and giving different versions of this story. And it starts off mild, and then it just snowballs and snowballs. And next thing you know, he's cutting me, and he's electrocuting me in my cuts, and he's force feeding me drugs, and he's putting meth in the food. And all the while, we've got Manson's long-term ex-wife Dita Von Teese, ex-fiance Rose McGowan, Ms. Me Too, going on record as saying that they didn't experience any of this monstrous behavior. They don't recognize this abuse. He was not like that with them. He was sweet, gentle, what have you. No, not perfect. Yes, I'm sure at times prone to temper tantrums, but a good guy, not abusive, not this monster. We have all these women going, and more going on record, that he is in fact, generally speaking, the complete opposite of anything like this. And certainly not this monster that's being described doing these heinous, sadistic, horrible, like Ted Bundy-like things. I would just like to be able to come out in a stronger way. I mean, just collectively, and just say, no, this is just fucking bullshit. So, again, no critique of anyone intended, and I'm so pleased as punch and proud of people who are standing by him, and however they want to express that is fine, and going out there on stage with him. And it looks damn fucking good for Manson to be standing on stage next to a woman, and a woman who is not just a placeholder, but who actually can really play the guitar really well and is a great performer. So no shade intended at all. But this is just one of those things I've been thinking about, is maybe how many people don't realize how comical are these things that Manson has been accused of. No, not comical if they really happened, but comical given the fact that they are such obvious concoctions that have just gotten more and more elaborate and intricate over time. It's really interesting. Okay, did I pass a super chat? Oh no, I saw yours, Joe. I thought I missed one. So Jay says, I think she did it for fear reasons. The images of her little Nazi salutes and mustache drawings. She took on this new persona and didn't want it coming back up to cancel her when she was A-list. It could be. It could be. I mean, it's definitely it's definitely not a good image. Evan Rachel Wood with the consensual, drawn on Hitler stash and the only person doing the Nazi salute backstage when no one else was anywhere around her and that sort of thing. It definitely could be. But anyway, I don't know, but I'm glad that Manson's back and I'm glad things are going well and fingers crossed. So far, no issues at any of the shows. And I can't imagine, even if some of these feminists show up to this, that they're going to be able to get any traction, honestly. I really can't. I just don't think so with that. So DBG Luxy says, I think it's funny when people cite his autobiography as to his character. Like, have you seen his interviews ever? Yeah, the autobiography, unfortunately, is the gift, the negative gift that keeps on giving for Manson. Because, and it's not like when you look, and that's the other thing, when you actually read the autobiography, even if we were just taking it all at face value, which I do not, but he's not describing anything near the behavior that these women are just these accusers have described. I mean, because if you read the autobiography, to me, it describes someone who's at times emotionally unstable to the point of like kind of blowing up, you know, yelling or what have you, or throwing something. But again, what is being suggested, not suggested, accused by these accusers is like just like the worst shit you can imagine. Like this man, if these things are true that they've said, he is truly a monster to be terrified of, a monster to be feared. But it's not true. It's obviously not true. And so, yeah, I don't know that autobiography. But you know, it's been debunked. I've had people on my show debunking stories from it. One of Manson's childhood friends, that was a big interview, and then elsewhere, even Trent Reznor. I mean, people have come out and said, "No, this didn't happen." People that were discussed negatively, even in the book, like that. There was a story of that Manson supposedly tells of uh, giving this fan a hard time in some way or whatever, and then the fan comes out and says, "No, actually, that didn't happen," or whatever, and he was great. So Rihanna says, even as a teen, I knew it wasn't a straightforward autobiography. Yeah. Yep. Well, okay. So Jay says it's interesting how silent Evan Rachel Wood has become suddenly. Yeah, but she did come out for a week when one of the accusers died. And I still don't know if it was a suicide or a drug OD. I'm hearing it was a drug OD, but I don't have solid sources. And she was one of the early accusers that fell away. It was that Gabriella woman who ended up being discredited by Paula, Manson's assistant, who produced on my channel, actually on my show, who produced text from Gabriella contradicting her story. And so after that, she stopped posting on it. She went quiet. I think even just got off the internet. But she had been dealing, as I understand, with health challenges. She had perhaps even some kind of a spinal tumor, maybe addiction issues. I don't know. But here's the deal: her death had nothing whatsoever to do with Marilyn Manson, Brian Warner, and Evan Rachel Wood, who had been off Instagram, who had been not saying a word, quiet for months, right, as a church mouse. She appears suddenly, reactivates, comes back with her Instagram to talk about this girl, post some stuff about her, and of course, blame Manson. And then Amy Berg, the director of Phoenix Rising, then Amy Berg picks that up and retweets it and reshares it, blaming Manson. Amy Berg even took it a step further, though, because Amy Berg was blaming Manson also for the death of Amy Harwick, who was killed by her ex boyfriend, Derek Purswell, in a very well documented case that had absolutely nothing to do with Marilyn Manson. So, I mean, this just shows you how much prep Amy Berg does in her work, or how much we can trust what is presented to us in Phoenix Rising if she is publicly attributing the death of a woman to causes other than the well documented cause. The guy's in prison now, by the way, for killing this woman. Sad story. So Evan came out, posted a lot of shit for like a day or two about that, and then went away. And so I don't know, maybe it's kind of like a last gasp. Like they're thinking, okay, this girl has died, this woman's died. So let's see what kind of mileage we can get out of this. I mean, it's actually very disgusting when you think about it. She came back on just to share that so she could jab Marilyn Manson when it had nothing to do with him. It's pretty disgusting. But that's what she does. Well, guys, I'm going to go. I already did the stream today. about Lindsay's art, Manson's wife. Check it out. And I'm going to try to do some low key birthday stuff with my guy. But I wanted to say hello. I wanted to tell y'all I appreciate you. Thank you for sticking with me for almost 4 years of coverage. And I'm going to be continuing to do the Manson stuff pretty hardcore for the next month and a half because this is the time, right? Everything's sort of coming to a head. But after the tour and things have calmed down a bit, probably in a couple of months, month and a half, I'll start widening out my coverage again and maybe hopefully get into some new things that I haven't done while continuing to cover the Manson stuff. But anyway, I will see you in Austin. I'm going to be putting out some videos before then. I'm going to try to get one video out a day for the next stretch of the next week since that documentary is coming out. Try to get as much in the pipeline as possible in case people come to my channel to check me out. But I appreciate your support. My links are below. Um, PayPal tips always appreciated. And yeah, depend on y'all. So I appreciate you. And I will see you next time. Bye bye, everybody. Adieu.